Hello and welcome. I'm Pallavi Sharma and you're watching Biz World Weekly, a show where we bring you the top stories of the week from across the world. Let's start with the market check. Indian equity indices ended on a positive note on December 12. Nifty surged 0.57% at 26,046.95 points and Sensex was up 0.53% at 85,267.66 points. Top gainers on Nifty were Hindalco, Grasim, Tata Steel and Eternal, while the top losers were Interglobe Aviation, Asian Paints, BEL and HUL. Except metals, all sectoral indices closed lower. Defense and PSU banks led the declines. Indian rupee hit fresh record low in early trades today, despite a rally in the equity markets. After the US, Mexico has now imposed up to 50% tariffs on Indian goods. Not only India, these tariffs target other Asian countries without a free trade agreement with Mexico. These will come to effect from January 2026. So why these tariffs? Mexico's government under President Claudia Sheinbaum aims to shield local industries from cheap imports, especially from China, while generating $3.75 billion in revenue to cut fiscal deficits. China holds a massive trade surplus exceeding $100 billion, hammering sectors like steel, auto parts and textiles. The government is also preemptively aligning with the United States ahead of the 2026 USMCA review. But why on India? India ranks among the hardest hit after China, with exports totaling nearly $8.9 billion to Mexico in 2024, now facing potential 25 to 40% plunge in key sectors. So who is the worst hit? Auto sector would be the worst hit. Volkswagen Skoda leads at 50% of shipments to Mexico, followed by Hyundai, Nissan and Maruti Suzuki. Passenger vehicles worth $800 million to $1 billion yearly are comprising India's third largest car export market after South Africa and Saudi Arabia, will see duties soar from 20% to 50%, crippling compact car shipments. Auto parts valued at $600 to $700 million face 25 to 50% tariffs, alongside 35 to 40% or $900 million in iron and steel exports, hurting firms like Tata Steel. 30 to 35% on $500 to $600 million in textile, apparel and footwear, and 15 to 30% on organic chemicals and pharmaceuticals. Overall, India's $8.9 billion exports to Mexico could drop 25 to 40%. India has now treated this as a top diplomatic priority to push for a bilateral FTA or a partial scope deal covering autos and steel before tariffs bite, as the industries are already facing a hit from the US tariffs. There is a downside for Mexico too. Its customers will face pricier cars, clothes and goods, and local retailers reliant on affordable Asian inputs amid high inflation will also be hit. The US Federal Reserve cut interest rates again this time, meaning interest on loans, mortgage, etc. gets cheaper, but the interest you get from banks on your savings also decreases. Usually, a rate cut is seen as a positive sign, but this time it comes with a cautionary note. Our next report tells you why.
The U.S. Federal Reserve has made headlines this week by cutting interest rates for the third straight time this year. The Fed lowered its benchmark rate by a quarter percentage point, bringing it to between 3.50 and 3.75%, the lowest level in nearly 3 years. This move aims to address growing risks in the labor market, even as inflation remains persistently above the Fed's target. For everyday Americans, this rate cut has mixed implications. On one hand, borrowers stand to benefit. Lower rates often translate into cheaper loans, from mortgages and auto loans to credit cards. But there's another side to the story. For savers, this environment is far less friendly. The drop in interest rates means that returns on savings accounts, certificates of deposit, and other fixed income investments will decline. The stock market has reacted mostly positively to the Fed's decision. viewing the rate cut as a supportive step for corporate earnings and economic expansion. Lower borrowing costs generally encourage businesses to invest and hire. However, some analysts caution that while the market may cheer today, underlying economic conditions remain fragile. Within the Federal Reserve itself, opinions on the rate cut were divided. 3 officials voted against the quarter-point reduction, a sign of internal debate. Some members expressed concern that cutting rates at this stage might reduce the Fed's ammunition for fighting future downturns. They worry about what economists call a jobless expansion, where the economy's growth does not translate into meaningful employment gains, weakening the labor market's role as a buffer against recessions. Looking ahead to 2026, the Fed projects modest GDP growth and slightly eased inflation expectations, but unemployment rates are forecasted to stay steady, signs the economy is in a delicate balance. Policymakers expect at least one more rate cut next year, but plan to move carefully, monitoring how past reductions impact growth and inflation. Adding complexity to the Fed's path are changes in its leadership. With Chair Jerome Powell's term ending in May, several new candidates are under consideration, including President Trump's economic advisor and former Fed officials. Their approach to monetary policy could influence how aggressively or cautiously the Fed acts in 2026. Finally, there's a political backdrop too. The Fed's independence has been tested in recent months, with efforts to change top leadership fueling uncertainty. Economic data releases have also faced delays due to extended government shutdowns, making it harder for the Fed to get a precise read on the economy.
Now coming to a deal that will shake up Hollywood. It's about Warner Bros. Owning Casablanca, Looney Tunes, Friends, and Harry Potter, among others. It is burdened by a $35 to $40 billion debt from past mergers like AT&T's Time Warner deal and Discovery's 2022 acquisition. Now the studios and HBO streaming assets are up for sale, and seems like everyone wants to pitch in. Initially, Netflix struck with a $82.7 billion deal for Warner Bros. Studios, HBO Max, DC Comics, and related assets, aiming to bolt on iconic franchises like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and HBO hits to its original content amid slowing subscriber growth. The streaming giant sees this as a path to theatrical releases, games, and Hollywood moat, confident in navigating antitrust scrutiny despite a hefty $5.8 billion breakup fee if blocked. Warner Bros. Too endorsed Netflix as the front runner, valuing its financial strength and strategic fit over rivals. But then came a twist. Paramount Skydance, led by David Ellison, launched a hostile $108 billion all-cash bid directly to Warner Bros. Shareholders after 6 rejected proposals targeting the entire company, including loss-making cable networks like CNN, TNT, and MTV. Unlike Netflix's partial buyout, Paramount wants full control for synergies in advertising, sports rights, and beefed up Paramount Plus with Warner Bros. Library, backed by Ellison family funds, Jared Kushner's affinity partners, and Middle East sovereign wealth without Chinese investors to ease US reviews. Warner must respond by December 19, and accepting Paramount's offer triggers a $2.8 billion fee to Netflix, escalating the rare public bidding war. That's not all. Donald Trump too stepped in this fiasco. Not that he is interested in Hollywood, it was news that he wanted to target. He attacked CNN over content which Paramount wants as a part of its deal. This showed that Trump is favoring Paramount's offer, and why not? Kushner, who finances Paramount, is Trump's son-in-law. However, concerns over independence spread in CNN newsrooms. Journalists were worried whether an Ellison takeover would affect CNN's editorial independence, especially at a time when the daily news stories are mostly about Trump. Meanwhile, Trump says that he has not spoken about this to Kushner, but for you, the stakes are high. The deal will impact advertisers and distributors, and what will be the change in prices for the viewers, that will also be seen after a deal is signed. For years, China has been the top financier of Pakistan. It invested in many projects, including mining projects in Balochistan. US seems to be going the same way. Looks like ties between Shehbaz Sharif or say Asim Munir and Donald Trump are getting better. US has signed crypto deals with Pakistan earlier, but this time US has decided to invest $1.25 billion in Rikodik mining project in Balochistan. It is an investment which comes with risks. No, we are not talking about Pakistan's economy already being hit and Pakistan being under debt. That is a well-known fact. It is about security risks this time. The region is facing problems with security and hence China is also pulling out of there slowly. So why is US making this risky investment? Our next report tells you.
The U.S. has announced a major $1.25 billion investment from its Export-Import Bank to back Pakistan's Reko-Dik mining project in the insurgency-plagued Balochistan province. This financing targets one of the world's largest undeveloped copper and gold deposits, estimated at 15 million tons of copper and 26 million ounces of gold, vital for electric vehicles, renewables, and AI tech. Acting U.S. Ambassador Natalie Baker hailed it as a win-win and model project, enabling up to $2 billion in U.S. mining equipment imports, while creating 6,000 American jobs and 7,500 in Balochistan. The $7 billion venture, 50% owned by Canada's Barrick Gold, 25% each by Pakistan's federal and Balochistan governments, aims for production by 2028, potentially yielding $2.8 billion in first-year exports and over $70 billion in long-term cash flow. President Trump's second term has warmed U.S.-Pakistan ties, with September meetings between Trump, PM Shehbaz Sharif, and Army Chief Asim Munir, post-India's Operation Sindoor, centering on resource extraction. Washington seeks to counter Chinese dominance in critical minerals, viewing Reko-Dik as a strategic hub in the Tethyan Belt near Afghanistan and Iran. Saudi Arabia's Manara Minerals eyes a 10 to 20% stake, while IFC and ADB assemble over $2.6 billion more in funding. Balochistan's underdevelopment persists despite its riches, fueled by decades of separatist insurgency from groups like the Balochistan Liberation Army, who target foreign projects and infrastructure. Recent suicide bombings in Chagai district highlight risks to U.S. equipment and routes, with Baloch leaders warning investors of exploitation without local consent. Lacking rail lines for exports adds logistical hurdles. Yet global demand and Barrick's commitment push forward. This high-stakes deal blends economic promise with geopolitical maneuvering, but success hinges on Pakistan securing the site amid ongoing militancy.
Sticking to Pakistan, the $1.25 billion deal to finance Pakistan's Reko-Dik copper gold mining project was not the only deal that Trump administration had offered Islamabad. Pakistan has secured nearly $2 billion worth of commitments from the United States within a span of days. On December 8, the U.S. Defense Security Corporation Agency notified Congress of a $686 million sale of advanced tech for Pakistan's F-16 fighter jets. As per Pakistan's Dawn newspaper, the package includes 92 Link 16 tactical data link systems and comprehensive upgrades aimed at modernizing Pakistan's F-16 fleet and extending aircraft life through 2040. Link 16 allows pilots to communicate with ships and ground forces real time. It also includes 6 bomb castings for Pakistan. Now, Pakistan had requested these upgrades in 2021, but Washington had delayed it till now. Apart from these two, the International Monetary Fund once again approved a $1.2 billion tranche for Pakistan. IMF's disbursements now has reached approximately $3.3 billion since last year alone. IMF says that Pakistan had made significant progress in stabilizing its economy with forex reserves reaching $14.5 billion and that the country is achieving primary surplus of 1.3% of GDP. Meanwhile, Pakistan's economy is still debt-ridden with very less means to pay back its loans, and this is concerning. In May, Pakistan deployed F-16 jets against India during Operation Sindoor. So why did US give Pakistan the military boost? The DSCA later made a statement that, quote from it, "The deal will support the foreign policy and national security objectives of the US by allowing Pakistan to retain interoperability with US and partner forces in ongoing counter-terrorism efforts and in preparation for future contingency operations." The timing is crucial because India-US relations are in a difficult place with high tariffs imposed on India, Trump wanting credit for allegedly mediating the ceasefire between India and Pakistan, and a trade deal that is still not signed. These new investments just came a few months after the Pahalgam terror attack and Operation Sindoor. We'll see how India is going to react to this because it is definitely a big deal. A golden opportunity. That's what Trump said when he launched a gold card. It is a card that will give you like a priority pass into the United States, but it comes with a big price tag of $1 million. What is the gold card? How can you get it? And how is it different from a green card? Here's a report.
President Donald Trump has launched the Trump Gold Card, a premium visa program offering wealthy foreigners a fast track to U.S. residency and citizenship for a $1 million contribution. Announced on Truth Social, it targets high net worth individuals and companies, contrasting sharply with ongoing deportations of undocumented immigrants. Applicants start at trumpcard.gov by paying a $15,000 non-refundable processing fee to the Department of Homeland Security, followed by rigorous background checks on themselves and family. Approved individuals then make a $1 million gift to secure an expedited EB-1 or EB-2 green card, granting permanent residency to live, work, and access benefits like Social Security and Medicare. Businesses pay $2 million per sponsored employee, with a 1% annual $20,000 maintenance fee and 5% $100,000 transfer fee for switches. Meanwhile, the website stated that a Trump Platinum card is also coming soon. Trump calls it a much better, more powerful green card with a stronger citizenship path, valid initially for 3 years, extendable to 6, requiring a bachelor's degree in a relevant field. Unlike the EB-5 visa's job creation rules, no U.S. jobs need proving. The upcoming $5 million Platinum tier allows 270 tax-free days yearly on foreign income. Proceeds fund national initiatives, potentially raising billions. Interestingly, the gold card was priced at $5 million when the Trump administration announced the move in September. The discounted price tag may give the card a competitive edge compared with similar pay-to-jump-the-line programs that are in operation in other nations. So how is it different from a green card? Traditional green cards offer permanent residency via family, employment, or asylum, with citizenship after 5 years, or 3 if married to a citizen, but face stricter border scrutiny. Gold cards skip queues, replace EB-5, and prioritize capital over hardship stories, drawing criticism for favoring the rich amid asylum reviews from 19 countries.
When Trump imposed punishing tariffs on China this year, since April, everyone thought that it would hurt the dragon. But numbers are now saying otherwise. For the first time ever, China has achieved a historic milestone, posting a trade surplus exceeding $1 trillion through November 2025. Let's break down the numbers for you. Year to date, exports reached approximately $3.4 trillion, climbing 5.4 to 5.9% from last year, while imports grew sluggishly by just 0.6 to 2% to $2.3 trillion, forging a $1.08 trillion surplus, a 21.7% leap over 2024's full year $990 billion mark. November standalone figures soared to $111.68 billion. High-performing exports included electric vehicles up over 30%, solar panels and lithium batteries exceeding 25%, and industrial robotics surging 15 to 20%. So how did this happen? Deflationary pressures shaved export prices by 2 to 3%, enhancing competitiveness, while a deliberately undervalued renminbi amplified this edge, allowing China to undercut rivals even as new material costs stabilized. Deeply, this surplus reflects structural overcapacity. State-subsidized factories churning out goods beyond domestic absorption, flooding markets worldwide. Now let's talk about the US. US-bound exports created 28 to 29% to $33 billion monthly under Trump's layered tariffs. Now 60% plus on EVs, steel, semiconductors and consumer goods, yet China's total surplus ballooned by rerouting 70 to 80% of diverted volumes elsewhere. Southeast Asia shipments were up 8%, Europe nearly 15%, plus gains in Africa, Latin America and Australia. Exporters front-loaded shipments pre-tariff hikes in Q4 2024, stockpiling US ports, while transshipment hubs in Vietnam, Mexico and Indonesia repackaged goods to evade duties, boosting ASEAN trade 12 to 15%. Even then, Chinese Premier Li Shang slammed Trump's tariffs as a severe blow to the world economy, urging coordinated domestic policies amid property woes and weak demand, while state media stressed resilience via trade redirection. So did Trump's strategy boomerang? US firms like Apple passed on the cost to the customers, fueling inflation at 3.2% in the United States, while China's forex reserves swelled to $3.6 trillion for strategic buys like US treasuries. Tariffs compelled China's long-term strategy of market diversion, slashing US reliance while flooding non-US regions with its products. This pivot, as per economists, mitigates the trade war pain for short term but risks global imbalances, with surpluses rivaling World War II US peaks at 1% plus of world GDP. That's all for this week. I will see you in the next. Like, share and subscribe to ET Now for more such news and views.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.